Hello, welcome to the A3 Football Show. In the next few episodes, we're going to be doing Fix Your Club. We're going to look through the Premier League clubs and our thoughts on where they are and what they should be doing. Okay? Now, we're going to start with the top of the tree, Man City. And the first question for you I've got is, where do you see them as a club at the end of last season?
I mean, yeah, we've they won the league last season. Great team, great squad depth, amazing. Great is even an understatement, to be honest. But and now they brought in Erling Haaland, if not the best striker, top three strikers in world football right now.
Yeah, we had a situation last year where people weren't sure whether they'd be good enough to win the league without a striker. They did, and now they signed Erling Haaland.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so it's not really fair. I'll be honest with you, it's not fair for the other teams, but yeah, I think they'll walk the league very easily.
That's clear in your mind.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you. It's going to be too much for. They've got too many ways to win now. That's how I see it. Yeah,
they can play, the possession football that Pep is known for. They've strayed away from that maybe last couple of years. I mean, they still keep the ball more than every other team, but that's due to the quality of the players more than, I guess, the tactics of the coaches. But yeah, they can still do that. And then when they need to find a way to score, they got Haaland. Yeah. Not many better strikers in history to have than Haaland in situations where you need a goal. But
yeah, it's scary. I'll just briefly go through what they've done as a whole this summer. So, quite a few outgoings actually. At the time of recording, Gabriel Jesus has left to join Arsenal. They've let a lot of their younger players who are highly rated go. So Romeo Lavia has left to join Southampton along with Gavin Bazunu, both young players with big reputations. I rate both of them really highly.
Yeah, I rate both of them too, but when you're at that level that City are at right now, you don't need young players, let's be real.
Yeah.
They've got money. They don't need, like, what's the point of them taking time to develop these players? Let's be real. They can just go and buy fucking excuse my language, Calvin Phillips.
Yeah.
To be their backup.
Exactly.
Their second choice.
Yes.
Defensive midfielder. This is we've never seen anything like this, have we?
Yeah. And that brings us on to Calvin Phillips, signed now just recently for I think £45 million around there. And he effectively replaces Fernandinho, who left finally after a long spell at the club. I think he's gone back to Brazil. And what do you make of that signing?
Yeah, it's brilliant, perfect signing. He's let's be real, he's good enough to start for most teams in the world, most teams in the Champions League. And to buy him, to spend, how much did he spend? £60 million?
No, 45.
£45 million for backup defensive mid. That just shows the privilege that they have at the moment. And yeah, you can't do much better than him as a backup. Let's be real. Brilliant signing.
Because to have a player of that quality willing to come knowing pretty much that he's not going to be a regular starter, it says a lot about where they are as a club right now, how attractive it is for players. They've also brought in Julian Alvarez from Argentina, very highly rated, the Argentinian League Player of the Year, 22 years old, I believe.
Yeah, very good striker. Obviously he's only played in South America, but what he's done there, there haven't been many strikers to replicate that in recent years. So it's probably one of the best South American strikers to come in the last five years or so.
Yeah, really. I agree with that. He seems to be a big talent and just more firepower. So they've gone from no strikers or just Jesus who wanted to play more out wide, to having two real goal scorers who can also be involved in all the phases of play. It's just yeah, I think they're already a much better team than last
Yeah.
season, which is scary. Um, and just to touch on outgoings that are being reported at the moment, they're also expected to sell Raheem Sterling to Chelsea. Um, he's had a great time at City. He's won a lot of things, scored a lot of goals. What do you make of them deciding to sell him to Chelsea? Also, Jesus going to Arsenal. What do you make of those decisions? With the context is both of them had a year left on their contracts and weren't likely to sign extensions.
I think with both of those players, I think the deals were like the deals to sell them is best for all parties. Sterling, I think he was on 300k, and he wanted more money from the deal. I don't think it's worth giving him more money for City because he just be real. He doesn't have to start for them. He doesn't have to be a starter. They can. They already have Grealish. They already have Mahrez.
Imagine that. Even in the United, the Fergie Wenger era, to have a player like Raheem Sterling just there, and you don't need to play him. It's just oh yeah, it's an option off the bench. That's something. Maybe he'll play this game for a different.
Have you ever seen a squad this strong, like a full 22-man squad this strong in the Premier League before?
I can't think of any team with a squad that deep. Like there's been really great Real and Barca teams which had a lot of depth on the bench, which that's all I can really compare with it. And they had better starting 11s probably, although City aren't. They're going in that direction with this now that they're signing Haaland and stuff.
I would go as far to say City's second choice team would finish top 3 in the Premier League comfortably.
Yeah, that sounds ridiculous, and yet I'd be very confident. I'd be very confident about that. Yeah. What is it? Let's just quickly. What would their second choice team be? So they've just signed another mention. They signed a new number 2 goalkeeper, Stefan Ortega from Arminia Bielefeld, and Zach Stefan's gone out on loan to Middlesbrough. So with him in goal, who is their number 2? In fact, before we even get to that, let's talk about the one other player they are being linked with. So they signed Haaland, Alvarez, and Phillips. But they're also being linked with Marc Cucurella. What do you think of that potential signing? Do City need anything else?
Yeah, I think left back is probably the only. I mean, you can't really say it's a weak spot because Cancelo. Let's be real. He played last couple of seasons. He's played better as a left back than he has as a right back. So they could easily just play him left back and then continue with Kyle Walker at right back. But if they don't want to play Kyle Walker at right back for whatever reason anymore, then because Cancelo can go on the right side, and then Cucurella will be an upgrade to Zinchenko, and obviously we don't know what's happening with Benjamin Mendy, but yeah, I think that ship has sailed anyway.
Yeah, I think one thing with Kyle Walker, he's so strong defensively, he gives them that extra solidity. He will often stay with the 2 centre backs. I think a good aspect of the Cucurella deal is that if Cancelo does play right back now, Cucurella, he's played this season as part of a back 3. He's done really well defensively. He's a real all-rounder as a fullback, which is what I see. I can see why he'd be attracted to Man City, because he can be used as a more attacking fullback or have a more solid role if necessary, and he can do both just as well as each other pretty much. So yeah, I think that adds to them as well. And yeah, so just briefly again going back to Walker, Stones, Ake, Zinchenko, Phillips, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, Cole Palmer, at the moment, Raheem Sterling, Alvarez, where would that team finish? Yeah, I think they would have a really good chance of finishing third.
Yeah, because that team is better than currently Man United's team.
Yeah.
It's better than Arsenal's team.
Yeah.
It's probably similar to like Chelsea's and Tottenham's team right now.
So it would definitely be at least competing and have a good chance of getting into the top four, maybe third. Yeah. So
yeah,
it's crazy. We haven't seen this. I agree. So with all of that business, where do you consider Manchester City to be at this point? In what their aims are, what do you think is possible this season?
As in where would they finish?
Where would they finish in the league, the Champions League? What would you think that they're aiming for everything, right?
Yeah,
they have to.
Yeah, they should win everything this season.
They should win everything.
There's no excuses anymore. At this point, there are zero excuses for Pep Guardiola. If he fails to win the Champions League this year, I think he should be set.
That's a huge statement. That's a huge statement.
Well, who else can win the Champions League this time? Who else can knock them out for it to be acceptable? What other team in the world would it be acceptable for them to lose to in any stage?
I mean, you lose to Liverpool over 2 legs, maybe, or.
But they've got Haaland now, so that's the difference between the two teams now. Before, they were very close on paper, but Haaland, let's be real, he's twice the striker that Nunez will ever be, ever. So there's levels to this.
Yeah, I can't argue with that at all. I can't. Yes, so we're looking at a future with Manchester City dominant. They're in a dominant position and looking like the only way is up, right?
Yeah, and with the extraordinary talent in the youth products as well.
It's crazy. It's really, players from their reserve team going. I wouldn't be surprised into mid-table Premier League teams and being their key players. That's what they're at. Yeah. That's the stage they're at the moment.
Yeah, I think most importantly, we gotta give a big shout out to Khaldoon at the top. Because obviously, they've had rough patches. Not big rough patches because they've had a lot of money to cushion any sort of fools. Yeah. But now they figured it out. They figured out the game. They know exactly how to play it. And they know how to never fail. This is something that even after all these years, I don't think Roman Abramovich really perfectly figured it out. But Khaldoon has. And so I think he has managed to create a serious dynasty. And we'll see that in the next 10 years.
Yeah, looking forward to it, man. So, do you have anything else in your mind that could help improve Man City at this stage then?
Yeah, I think, if any position, I think maybe the centre-backs could be improved. Maybe just one more. Yeah, I don't think they have any world-class centre-backs. I think if there was, I see Koulibaly's been linked to a move away from Napoli. I think that's literally the missing piece for them to have, probably maybe the best team you've ever seen in football.
In football. I thought you were going to say the Premier League. In football. I mean, that's a huge...
You'll be up there for sure.
If we're talking about being the best Premier League side, we are talking about one of the best sides ever anyway.
They would have world-class players in at least 6 positions.
Yeah.
In their team.
Yeah.
And how often have we seen that?
Yeah, it's not too...
maybe the players are playing in their best positions as well.
The peak Pep Barca, eight or 9. There was quite a lot of...
But we haven't seen that many times at all.
Yeah.
Right now, I feel like, Ruben Diaz, very overrated. And that's the one position that could be improved on. Koulibaly, miles ahead, one of the best defenders in the world.
It's something I could see them addressing in the long term. because what else are they gonna spend on now?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, that might be next summer. I wouldn't say it's an area they need to focus on right now. They're still fine. They can still compete for everything
Yeah,
with the options they have right now, and they've got depth as well.
yeah,
But yeah, I could see going into next season when you want to go to the next level for sure. A centre back, maybe it won't be Koulibaly at that stage because he's now 31, but maybe in a year's time, there's a lot of good young centre backs coming through.
yeah. We saw they were trying to sign Isak Toure from Troyes, but
Yeah.
he joined Marseille.
Yeah, that's a great signing by
Yeah,
Marseille.
so if Man City signed him, he probably would have been the answer to any future centre back problems.
Yeah.
Problems I say very loosely, but yeah, I feel like they could also do with another winger, just for depth. Another, maybe a pacey option, because a lot of their wingers right now, Mahrez, Grealish, they're not the most explosive wingers. They're not the most they're tricky. They're tricky wingers, but they're not the most direct and explosive wingers.
Do you think that's something that could be an issue for them in certain games this season?
Possibly, sometimes they might need to play a bit wider. They might need someone a bit more direct, and I feel like Ousmane Dembele would be perfect, because a lot of teams I feel like are avoiding the Dembele deal because he is out of contract. He is a free agent right now. They are avoiding it because of his injury record. I feel like Man City, out of all teams, are the team best in place to take that risk. Just due to the fact that they don't necessarily need him and they have cushions.
So you're saying it's just like a why not, and the potential benefit from it is like crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Because if that risk pays off, we're looking at one of the best players in the world. And because an on-form Ousmane Dembele, there's not many better.
Yeah. If he could imagine if they could get him on a free transfer and he stays fit, it's just they're even scarier, right?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, I can agree there. All right, a bright future for Man City then, it seems. Yeah, we'll move on to another team next.